Hello, my loves. Welcome back for another episode of Ask Me How I Know with me, Coach Ebony Isis Booth. The Ask Me How I Know podcast is a sanctuary where Black women and gender expansive people engage deeply with their healing, integrate self-inquiry, and ponder the divine inevitability of change. By telling my truth and sharing the wisdom of my lived experience, it's my prayer that I'm offering you practical strategies and real life examples of how we get free from the inside out. Together, we co-create a platform to reflect, to share the truths about what it means to choose healing, not to try to heal, to make magic, and to learn how to love ourselves home. So that is the program and what we do here. This is an invitation for you to be in community, to show up as your full self, listen, respond, react, snap your fingers, do a step. You can do it all by yourself. So let me see you do it, okay? But in this space, we must understand and agree that Black womanhood is respected, protected, honored, and celebrated for the fullness of our who-ness, okay? This is sacred space, and we are doing really essential work here. So don't come around here set tripping on no bull, okay? We can't. Take that down the street somewhere else, somebody else's podcast. But really, all in all, Ask Me How I Know is a way for me to share the how of the being, the learning, the unlearning, the transformation, and integration of my self-healing journey, which, if you ask the right astrologer, is something that I have been pinned up against the planet Pluto, I suppose, for the past 16 years. And apparently in 2025, I'm supposed to be freed from the chokehold that these planets have had me in. I feel like I'm nearing the end of this journey by and by, as my grandmama would say. But what I do know is that I've spent a lot of time in my adult life really being preoccupied and concerned and hypervigilant about anticipating what other people might think of me or think about something that I said. Really holding true to this need to be right, this deep desire to be heard and understood. Also, like we talked about in previous episodes, this fear of judgment, rejection, and abandonment, because who likes any of those things, really? So in part, the podcast is me just shooting the shit with y'all because I get tired of listening to people who purport to be experts about situations, things, and trials that they have never actually had to experience. And we see this really polished presentation where people are almost sending their representatives to inform or educate or sell us on ways of being and showing up in the world. And so there ends up being this kind of false expectation that I can show you it's easy. Here's how. I broke this down into 6 simple steps so you don't have to. And that just doesn't sit right in my spirit, because the thing is, you gonna have to do some things. You gotta do this work, baby. Nobody else can do it for you. It is your work. And so oftentimes we get really just consumed by watching somebody else's process, right? We get intrigued, enthralled, entranced in the what, the who, and how somebody else did something, so that we can be the ones to sit and judge and assess and reject and block and cancel based off what we like or dislike about how somebody else did their work. It's so easy to have all the answers about what somebody else should be doing or ought to be doing or did or did not do. And these lovely little devices that we carry around in our hands nonstop give us unlimited access to billions of people in the world at the scroll of a thumb, to judge, to criticize, to reject, to unfollow, to abandon, to block, to cancel. And it really has given us, I think, societally, as if we needed another superiority complex where we feel like it is okay and fully acceptable to tell other people what they ought to be doing with their lives without fixing our lips to consider what we ought to be doing in our own. And I'm sick of that shit, y'all. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. When I think about, preparation, just a little bit about me, my birth chart, I am a Libra stellium. Okay. I have many planets in Libra. I am an air sign. Libra is a cardinal air sign that ushers in the beginning of initiating change into a new season. This air sign is also the only zodiac that is represented by a machine. Me being a Libra ruled by air and intellect, my intuition and my tendency toward looking for fairness and balance and harmony in everything is very true to form about who I am and how I show up in the world. And my rising sign happens to be Capricorn. It's an earth sign, the sea goat, very autonomous, very climb up on the side of this mountain so that I can peer down and wonder why y'all are so far away. Don't you see what I see? Why aren't you looking farther? Look higher, climb again, like take another step. The air is great up here, right? So that is just a little bit of something about me for the astrology girlies in the space, just so that you know, you know. And I also have completed a spiritual initiation over the course of the past year. For those of you who subscribe to my newsletter or my When I Feel Like It Substack, when you receive my writings, I mentioned October of last year that I had stepped into an Iyawo my initiation to become a priest of Oshun in the Lukumi tradition of Ifa. That is a lot of words to say that for 1 year I practiced in-depth prayer, a rebirth, sort of baptism of sorts, to dedicate and commit myself to my angel guardian, Oshun, and to study myself, to study the tradition and my faith, to learn, to practice humility, to be a student, to be quiet and still, to abandon my vanity. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't drink alcohol or smoke marijuana. I didn't wear nail polish. Auntie keeps a little gel or acrylic situation. The 2-inch tips be popping. None of that. And I also dressed and surrounded myself in white fabric and white cloth for the whole year. So that's what I'll say about that in the initiation process. Much of it is, religious taboos associated with sharing and getting into detail about here's what I did, because I didn't share because it wasn't anybody's business. But what I do want to share is about what I learned about solitude. So I'm going to back up for a second. Like I said, I am an air sign with a Capricorn rising. I have a tendency to want to over-explain and commit to going really hard in the paint for preparing for a show to record. I want to get my thoughts tracked out. I want to do some scripting to follow. I want to research, and then I'll slide down a research rabbit hole, and I'm pulling quotes, and I'm doing all this study, and then I go back to the outline, and I prepare and prepare and prepare, and then I lose interest and throw up my hands and go, you know what? Never mind. This is too much work. It's too much energy. It's taking too much time. I'm not going to do it because I can't see perfection as the outcome, or I am exhausted by the time it's time to press record, and I just kind of have lost the gusto for the project. And so then it just sits in a notebook or on loose leaf or a doc in my computer. There are so many near starts that I have accumulated over the years. And one of the things that I have learned in this creative, inspired, beautiful, dedicated, and driven personality that I have is that many of my protectors around perfectionism and my self-like identities that I've built, like the Isis component of my identity, who is a bit of a character that is often armored and prepared and kind of dazzling in a way to be like, setting up smoke screens, nothing to, pay no attention to the woman behind the curtain type shit, to give the illusion of perfection, so that behind the scenes, behind the curtain, I am working feverishly to try to perfect and fine tune and tweak everything. So I noticed in that place, I was never really fully present. Even in times where I open myself up on say, for instance, on stage and in performances, in live talks, to be a channel where I just walk into the space and give myself over to spirit and open my mouth and trust that the words that are going to come out are the ones that I'm supposed to say. That too is an act of me not being present to the gift, to the words, to the people in the audience, to the connection, right? That's also a sort of protector, manager part of myself that is trying to manage energy and manage my capacity to interact, also manage some of my anxiety about extroverting too hard and peopling too hard, because that's not my favorite song either. So why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this with you to kind of set up a way for you to understand how incredibly hard I have been working to present myself in such a way that would allow me to remain visible enough in the world, in this melanated femme body, in this opinionated, educated, smart, funny, loud, Black girl body, a way that would ensure my survival, to make me visible enough to not be erased or be made invisible by systemic oppression, by racism, by misogynoir. And at the same time, in that fight for visibility, to resist my erasure, I was losing my identity. I didn't really know who I was anymore because I was always pretending to be some other part or version of myself that would fit the mold of what I believe the world was asking and requiring of me, because they don't really ask, they just kind of extract it, take it, expect it. There's no conscious relationship agreement between myself and white supremacy culture or capitalism or the patriarchy or misogynoir or sexism or classism or just none of the isms, right? So when I say, ask me how I know, I had to have many, many hard, long looks in the mirror with myself about, okay, girl, what is we doing? What are we doing, girl? How much armor? How much lipstick? How hard you gonna beat your face to walk into this place today just to get the unction, the gumption to walk into this room, into this office, into this meeting and take up space and to open my mouth and to speak my truth and to do my job and to fight for my humanity, or to choose not to speak or not to fight so that I could protect my humanity by not being seen and also being able to adjust on a dime, determined based off what the temperature in the room is at any given time. So I was facing the challenges that are not particularly unique to any of us as Black women. And I mean, you might be any person who is othered and feel a sense of, you might want to nod your head and snap your fingers and might be in the amen corner of what I'm talking about here. Specifically for me, a lifetime and a career of being the good girl, the mature girl, she just a little woman girl, the granddaughter of a pastor and evangelist, the just Easter programs, you gonna speak in front of the church, you gonna direct the choir, you gonna, when we say get up, you know this, come set, do me. Yes, I'll go, send me, and I will be a representative of this family and of my my grandparents and my parents and our neighborhood and where we are from and who we are, I so easily just put that on my back. A lot of shit that was not mine. Also, that no one was actually asking me to do, but I just fell right into it because I saw a need. I was hyper vigilant and this little Libra baby, indigo child, and was like, I noticed that there's a power imbalance here. Let me step in and insert myself to create harmony where there isn't one. There isn't any. You know what I mean? Like just finding my note out here in the world. So I did that from a child all the way up into adulthood. And the coping mechanisms and the methods and the behaviors and the beliefs that inform our behavior and the thoughts that we think about ourselves and the thoughts that other people think and say out loud that we then internalize and turn into beliefs about ourselves, they don't always work the way they used to work. They don't really have the same kind of staying power. We notice that we don't necessarily, they say you do what you've always done, you get what you always gotten. Or like insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. These colloquial kind of terms in which we use to describe the way that we tend to get stuck in familiarity, in patterns, in behaviors. I, for a lot of different reasons, was stuck in a loop. And it worked for a long time. Like for a long time, that shit was popping, right? On the outside. But on the inside, I remember it was like 2015, 2016, and I had just left Denver and moved to Albuquerque. And I had told my then partner, I was like, I feel like I'm disappearing and I don't like it. Like I felt myself, I was turning into some sort of goo, experiencing some level of transformation, but I was not going willingly into that good night. I did not enjoy it. I didn't want to participate. I didn't want to do it, but it was happening and I felt it and I resisted it. I doubled down and went harder and I started to fake it till you make it myself into some version of me that by the time I had to sit with myself and look at it, I did not like what I saw. I didn't understand what I saw. There was a lot there to be cleaned up. But that would take some time. So let's see. I felt myself starting to disappear around 2015, 2016, but I was hard-headed. So I kept going hard. And the world had me in a trick bag where I had developed a lot of responsibilities and did not have the time or the resources or the support systems in place for me to do the kind of self-discovery and self-authentication work that I have been privileged to do to date. At the time, I was kinship guardian of my niece and nephew. So I had 2 children under 10. That was wild. So that was part of the disappearance was I had to disappear because it wasn't about me anymore. It became about the children. And I did not understand chemically what that would do to literally reconstitute my brain to switch me into nurturing parent, caregiver, mother, auntie, full-time role. So that was its own kind of transformation that was taking place in a way that I don't know how to prepare for that. And so I had to learn by trial and error. As a projector with a 3-5 line of, heretic and martyr, as the heretic 3 line, I learned by mistake, by making mistakes. I have to try and fail and then try again. Now, I done told y'all how I feel about failure and perfectionism. So as you can imagine, that was a bit of a fustercluck on several days, several mornings, many times. It felt like at one point my best friend Erica was like, friend, you don't have to end every day like an Avengers movie. And that's literally what it felt like for a solid 5 years of my life. But I give thanks for that part of the journey because it absolutely helped me establish the kind of, everything. I won't even limit it to say like it changed me. I came away from that experience profoundly and utterly changed. Now, how did I get there? I'm skipping through a whole lot of stuff because I don't want to tell you my whole life story in one episode. Hopefully you'll keep checking back in and I'll keep talking and you'll learn more about me. And hopefully by learning more about me, you will find something that you can learn within yourself that sparks some will to change or to allow yourself to be changed by what challenges you are facing that you perceive to be barriers or hindrances, when in all actuality, they are lessons that are coming to teach you and equip you with what you will need for the next thing, what is on the other side of the perceived barrier, what is behind the door, which ones are locked for a reason. You know, maybe you trying to unlock a door and the window is wide open, you know? So anyway, where was I? Right. So I had really built a very codependent life for myself in the faking it till I make it model of existing, where I needed constant validation from people around me that I was doing the right thing, that I was doing a good job, I was, succeeding, that I was making it, that I wasn't, ruining the kids' lives or hadn't made some kind of mortal mistake. It was just, I was in such need to be seen. I needed somebody else to see me and validate me because I could not find myself in the mess. And I'm still just resisting the transformation process. I did not want to be made goo. I did not want to go into the chrysalis. I didn't want to turn into a butterfly. I did not want to. It sounded gross. No, thank you. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? But life will get you, it'll get you together. So I'm going to fast forward and skip some things. But in 2019, I had really kind of, I had done my big one. I was a director of diversity. I was in a community fellowship program. I was producing events. I had published a book of poetry. I had done a book release in another state. I was doing the most. And in that year of 2020, I experienced pregnancy loss. And I maybe should have put a trigger warning in the notes. That kind of came out of left field because I wasn't sure I was going to share it with you. But, again, this is my sanctuary and this is my story. I experienced a pregnancy loss in July of 2019, the same summer that I relinquished my kinship guardianship of my niece and nephew. And I was planning or preparing to focus on myself and focus on the pregnancy. And, things had improved with their mom and things were changing. The kids were getting older and it seemed like the right time for me to make a choice where I was choosing myself. Well, that was extremely difficult. And I didn't quite know what to do with myself going from a house full of people to, by that fall, being just me, uncoupled, in a house by myself. That spring, March of 2020, we came home for what we thought would be 2 weeks for the first wave of COVID. So I looked up and the whole was just, I had nothing but myself and my aloneness in the home. I did everything but bake sourdough bread during COVID. I made a lot of work for myself. I doubled down on my work at school. I wrote curriculum. I figured out how to pivot a DEI program. I supported students with virtual learning. I drove the seniors their graduation cap and gown packets for virtual drive-through graduation on the school bus and made deliveries masked up with gloves to people's houses. Organized by this time that we started to experience an uptick in police murders of unarmed Black people, and just severe state violence, I began organizing for Black lives on the ground in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That was hard. Was hard. And I'm still feeling myself being pulled by spirit to go inside myself, to get myself somewhere and sat down, as my grandmother would say. But I was fighting it. I was resisting. I wanted it. I couldn't quite get it to turn over. And then Juneteenth weekend, 2020, I got in my car and drove to Carlsbad Caverns in Carlsbad, New Mexico, which is a national park that is a cavern. It's in the side of these mountains. It's like 25,000-year-old caves. And I drove to Carlsbad and got an Airbnb and stayed by myself for like a week. When I got there, the caverns I thought were going to be open. They were not open yet. So I ended up in this Airbnb by myself. Can't say that I had a ball, because Carlsbad, New Mexico was not necessarily like an inviting place for a Black body to be. So I was just kind of in the Airbnb by myself. As that is happening, literally Albuquerque is kind of on fire. There had been a shooting at the Oñate statue over, settler colonial landmarks being taken down by the city. There were just protests being planned, and Juneteenth was approaching, and just a lot of calls. And I was like, I'm not participating in any of that. I came down here to get some space. I was also experiencing big problems at work that I won't talk about in this episode, maybe on another episode, but related to discrimination and doxing, and just it was a nightmare that summer. But I am being called to go to Carlsbad Cavern. And on the last day, I finally said, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and come home. I guess I'll call this triple wash, pack up the Jeep, and head back. And something in my spirit said, well, I'm going to just drive out there and see what it is that I'm not able to see. And that day was the first day in all of COVID that the cavern was back open. So I was able to actually go in and tour Carlsbad Caverns. I was not the only person, but there were only a handful of people there. So it literally felt like by myself, y'all, I walked into the center of the earth to have a little talk with God about my life and what I was doing with it, and how lonely I felt without my advocacy or my consulting or my business or my niece and my nephew or my partner or a partner for that matter, without my child, with no one but myself. I'm walking into the center of the earth, into darkness, into, an unknown and unfamiliar space that felt out of time and ancient at the same time. And I could hear spirit so clearly speak to me in that moment, and I think the first message was around my fear. My ego was afraid. And I feel like I heard spirit say, like, so 250,000 years, this cave has been standing, and you think that today, because you walked in, today is the day that we gonna crumble on you? Get over yourself. Get over yourself, girl. That's not how this works. I was like, oh, what am I afraid of? Like, why? What do I think of myself that I think that I would deserve to have this be the end? Like, why would I think that? Right? So once, I got snatched by my collar by the good spirit of the cavern, and the stalactites and stalagmites and the ancient crystalline water said, girl, bye. We ain't got you to step out. Go on ahead and walk this path and see what you see and meditate and let your feet just put one foot in front of the other and witness and see what you can see here and what you can see in yourself here. And also, what would you like to toss into the bottomless pit so that you can leave it here when you go back out to your life and your things? Because we're going to give you back. But what you need to drop off. And so I had this really amazing moment of clarity of getting comfortable with my discomfort. And that's a really long way to arrive at this place of thinking about this question: what wisdom lies in your discomfort? What wisdom lies in your discomfort? You know, we don't have to drive to Carlsbad Cavern. I mean, there may be caverns in your city or where you are. I think they're kind of cool. You should go check them out. I learned a lot. Also, #land back, because there was a lot of history to the White Mountain Apache. Also, it was really wild being there on Juneteenth, given the relationship between the Apache people, the White Mountain Apache and the Buffalo Soldiers. It was just a very wild juxtaposition of like, whew, man, history, right? And settler colonialism and being on land that is, you know, named for being discovered by a white man, as if the caves didn't exist until he found them. You know, it's wild how the world works. So, and then that place is now a federal site and museum and with a gift shop. So, you know, there's a little bit of tainting on the beauty of the cave. As with most things, we can hold duality and be like, that was fucked up and a really cool experience. I don't know how you feel about national parks. All I'm saying is you don't have to go to one to access the cave. There is a cave that is also inside each of us, a place of discomfort without light, a place that is of all shadows, a place that has a kind of primordial womb origin of ancient knowing that is so incredibly uncomfortable because it is utterly unlike any of the things we adorn and surround ourselves with, the comforts of our capitalism, of our consumerism, you know, what we imbibe, what we eat, what we drink, when we shop, how we screw, you know what I mean? Like, it's the cranes in the sky kind of, you know, kind of just can't get rid of it, right? But this cave exists within us. What wisdom, though, lies in that discomfort? What is it that makes you so uncomfortable? What was it about my ego? What was I blaming myself for? What did I need to forgive myself for? When was the last time I saw myself and knew myself as worthy of love? And so I loved myself. Like, what was that? What was happening in me in that space? There was wisdom in the discomfort of standing on the edge of what was deemed a bottomless pit, which is not entirely bottomless, but it's about a 200-foot drop into a black hole that is already in a cave that is several hundred feet down from the entrance. That drop, standing at the edge of it and feeling my root chakra, literally feeling the gravitational pull from underneath my pelvic, like my butt fell out, kind of tug to the core that, yeah, no, get real, get close to the earth, plug in your root kind of discomfort. What was that teaching me? I learned to unclench my butt cheeks in the cave at Carlsbad. The discomfort taught me how to unclench my butt cheeks and breathe. I was like, if I stay clenched like this, I am going to be imbalanced and not breathing and run the risk of passing out and falling over the edge of this bottomless pit. If I do not want to die, I actually have to ground myself, unclench my butt cheeks, and breathe deeply and evenly and be present and trust gravity and trust myself and trust God and stand here and exist. Just be a human. That's it. I don't have to facilitate anything, coach anybody, plan nothing, get anybody dressed, cook anybody lunch or dinner. I don't have to do nothing but stand here and be a living. That's it. So yeah, there's wisdom in your discomfort. The problem is we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to sit in the discomfort. We don't want to sit with it long enough to figure out what it is that is making us uncomfortable. Give you another example. I have a pair of like knitted sweatpants. They're like light sweatpants loungewear. And I lounge around the house in them, but I never wear them to walk the dog. And the reason I never wear them to walk the dog is because at the crotch inseam, there's like something pokey in there that is like not in every stride, but sometimes it will like poke me or pinch me on the soft meat of my thigh, on the inside of my thigh, on the soft part. Okay, and the soft part is uncomfortable. So these pants that are supposed to be comfortable are actually uncomfortable. And I am almost embarrassed to tell you how long I have known this about these pants, but will not throw them away because when the pokey thing is not poking me, the pants are comfortable. I like the way that they feel, right? It's a good texture. I feel it's a sensory thing. But I also know that out of the blue, something inside the inseam of the crotch of these pants is prone to poke me. Y'all, what wisdom lies in discomfort? Well, I'm doing laundry and I take the pants out of the dryer. I'm folding the clothes and I go to fold the pants and I stop for a moment and I flip the pants inside out and I feel along the seam to find the thing that is poking me. Now, mind you, in my imagination, I have said, oh, that's probably the tag is like, sometimes the little plastic tags get stuck in clothes. And so it's probably just like the tip of one of the tags. It's like stuck in between the seam. That's what I assumed. That's not what it was. It was like a piece of the fiber of the fabric had been melted at the end to like, instead of serging it, it was melted together. And so the edge of the not unnatural plastic ass polyester material that these sweatpants I have coveted from is made from, that piece was just like this hard piece of plastic that was in the seam. So I got up from the couch and went and cut it off. Just snipped it off. And now the pants don't pinch me anymore. Okay. If you sit with the discomfort instead of guessing, I know that's what that is. Those pants, I was mad at the pants. Those pants hurt me. I don't like those pants, but then I would put the pants on anyway. Cause you know what I mean? Or I would put the pants on and they would pinch me and then I would snatch the pants off and toss them in the laundry. But I never sat with the discomfort and got curious about why do these pants pinch me and what can I do about it? Right? So my question to you is, what wisdom lies in your discomfort? What will you learn? What are you willing to learn? How long will you sit in your discomfort and be present to it in order to check in with your body and say, what is this feeling? What is it trying to inform? What is it letting me know? What is the revelation? What will be revealed to me if I just allow myself to be present to the discomfort? Right? So the next question that I learned in my solitude, and I hear Billie Holiday. I do. I listened to it before I started recording just to kind of get me in the right mood. In my solitude. You know what I mean? Like Billie was sitting alone in her chair with gloom and despair, But the key of solitude, being in solitude and being alone are two different things, or isolation, right? During my time solo dolo in COVID, I had community, I had friends, I had people to connect with. We were reaching out and doing the virtual Hands Across America and all that shit. Like, For real. I wasn't really outside like that. And if I did go outside, I stayed outside. I heavily masked, community care, hand sanitizer, the whole nine, like 6 feet. I loved it. Right. Well, I didn't love the reason why we did it, but I was like, we can learn a thing or two. Again, wisdom in our discomfort. It might have made you uncomfortable, but it taught you some things about boundaries and about how you feel about other people and about how you feel about yourself and your family and accountability and all of those things. There's wisdom in our discomfort. That's a word. But I heard someone say that isolation is to be alone, right? Just alone. I was feeling very isolated on an emotional and spiritual level. There was definite emotional and spiritual isolation that turned into some paranoia. And the ways in which I was trying to manage that spiritually led to kind of like a chaotic consumer-based drive toward like magic and protection and doing a lot of altar work and a lot of burning and banishing and setting things on fire in the backyard. I mean, there was a lot where I just wanted to be clear and protected and detached from. I wanted the cords cut. I wanted to be clear and free from anything that was holding me, even after I dumped things into the bottomless pit. So that isolation from feeling alone, feeling rejected and abandoned, even though it was of my own making, was something that I was grappling with, right? At that time, someone told me that there's a difference between being alone and being in solitude. So when you're alone and in that isolated state, you're just by yourself. But when you are in solitude, you are alone with God. And that hit different, right? It hit different. The reason that I share that is because my solitude brought me closer to spirit, closer to myself, brought me home. And we'll talk about all the ways that home, I don't know, maybe on another episode, all the ways that home presented itself and how that manifested in various different measures. But my solitude brought me home to spirit, brought me closer to God. And that journey led me to my initiation, led me to Oshun, led me to a deeper and more committed relationship to my ancestors and Orisha than I could have ever anticipated. The thing is, when you go in to get seated in your discomfort so that you can get curious about what makes you uncomfortable, that's when distractions show up. So the question that I'm trying to get at here is, what is your greatest distraction? My greatest distraction is and was social media. There, I said it. That's my truth. My greatest distraction from spirit, from solitude, the way that I soothe myself out of the discomfort of being alone when I do not want to be still in spirit, has been social media, specifically Instagram. I have been blessed to move away from certain spaces. So like, I don't Facebook. I left Twitter a long time ago. And by the time it was X, I was like, what? I don't know her either. But Instagram was that shit. Instagram, whew, man, was such a great distraction. It was feeding and soothing and distracting and consuming and really appealing to me minding everybody else's business but my own. And then I even put my actual business, and invested my time and attention through a business model into social media for a whole year. 2021, I did a whole like rebrand, marketing approach, hired personal assistant, coaching program launches, the whole thing. I did it all. I put so much energy, effort, time, and money into Instagram in the name of my work. And I can't say for certain that I don't believe that it paid off. I did not see the numbers translate in a way that I felt like it was worth it. And so I decided to not continue to do that. I felt like it was kind of a hustle for me to keep feeding Meta and then leaving it up to the algorithm to pair me with people who were not ultimately aligned anyway. So it was just kind of like, why are we here? But my greatest distraction is Instagram. I can hear everybody else and see everybody else, and I'm not able to listen to myself. I'm not able to hear spirit. I'm not able to be in the type of solitude that allows me to be quiet and still enough so that I can literally hear spirit speak to me and give me the clarity of articulating a revelation to reveal itself to me to say, yes, say this, do that, write that down. Like, there is a certain element in spirituality where you must remain grounded. You have to remain grounded. And that requires work, right? It requires presence. It requires discipline. It requires stillness, right? You do have to pick your head up and have company. It's helpful to do that in community or to have a place to tag in, to touch down, to process and think. And I have been blessed to have relationships that allow me to do that, to remain grounded and to stay safe as I've deepened and grown in my spirituality and my spiritual walk. But man, distraction from that, Instagram. And the wild shit is the spiritualists are on Instagram. The witches, the tarot readers, the astrologers, the scammers, the people in your inbox with a message from your ancestors are on Instagram. The girlies are selling you programs on Instagram. They are promising you that they are going to give you solutions to everything that ails you on Instagram. And I call bullshit on about 99.9% of it because I'm going to call bullshit on my own self. It's not that what I was providing was a scam or where I was making false promises to people. And perhaps that is why it had something to do with why I wasn't quote unquote successful. But I also think if I go back to my personality and my Libra stellium and Capricorn rising, I don't trifle fools well. And I have an excellent bullshit detector. And I'm not going to engage in any willfully fraudulent shit. So anybody got time for that. So I think the formulas that folks use to attain virality and certain levels of success on social media were just not ones that I was willing to compromise my integrity to participate in. So there's also that, right? But boy, I love looking at it. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's beautiful. I love making beautiful posts. I like for things to be pretty. Look at this. I mean, I really miss the days of Instagram where I was just like taking pictures of cocktails and like moody angles of my blinds in my living room in like a black and white or an X Pro filter. Those were the days, damn it. But now it's like an algorithm and reels and moving videos. And honestly, after taking a year away from Instagram, y'all, I'm scared. I don't even know how to use it no more. As a matter of fact, I'm recording the video for this podcast episode and I have no idea where I'm going to put it because Instagram, I don't know. I don't really go there no more. Threads has been helpful, but there's been more people showing up on Threads who are bringing a lot of Instagram onto Threads. And I don't know. It's a lot. It's overstimulating and it's a distraction. It really distracts me from spirit. So that's my truth. But what is your greatest distraction? What are you distracted by? What distracts you when you are running from discomfort? And maybe you feel entitled to comfort. And I want to be maybe one of the first, but definitely one of the people in the world to hold your hand and bring you in close and tell you that the expectation of comfort is one of the key characteristics of white supremacy culture. That sense of entitlement. And I get it. I want soft life too. I'm out here on my soft life journey, but I don't feel entitled to it. not to make anyone else responsible for my comfort. Let me say that it is my responsibility. And in order for me to do that, I have to practice discernment and to be with knowing what makes me uncomfortable and understand why. And then determine if I need a boundary here. Do I need to just leave? Is this a one-off or is this a consistent thing? Let me go get some scissors and cut this pinchy thing out from my sweatpants because it's hurting me, right? So what's your greatest distraction? These are just some questions that I want to share with you. See, this is what happens when I start recording and don't got no script. But I won't be before you long. I'm coming to a close. So yeah, what is your greatest distraction and what is it distracting you from? What is it distracting you from? In my solitude, in my dedicated, focused solitude of coming home to myself, of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable with my eyebrows looking woolly and no makeup on my face and no jewelry on, no makeup, just my whole self, no perfume, dressed in white for a whole year, being my whole self, looking in my mama and my daddy's and my brother's faces, my family of origin's face for 365 days. The distraction was distracting me from myself. It was distracting me from seeing my actual self. The vanity had me in my vanity, where instead of actually looking in the mirror to see myself, I was looking in a reverse camera lens with a filter, with hundreds of filters that would make me look different and sound different and be a different color and make moons and stars fall from the sky in my bedroom and to send me all kinds of dopamine hits and endorphins through my day. It was distracting me from myself. And as I said, I'm coming to a close here. You only won somebody. You're the onlyest one. You're the onlyest one. It's just you, my love. It's just you. And you are wonderfully and fearfully made with such care and in so many miracles, all bound up inside of your flesh suit. And you're living and breathing and being and going about and doing and speaking and learning and experiencing joy and laughter and pain and sorrow, like having a full range of human emotions on the planet. And guess what? You might not like it all the time. I don't know that any of us are supposed to. I think that would be wild, Shout out to Frankie Beverly. Joy and pain are like sunshine and rain, right? Was that Rob Bass? You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. What is your greatest distraction distracting you from? And maybe the solution here is to get yourself some solitude. So just you in spirit, you and God. Get someplace and sit in the stillness, in the quiet. And I hear you right now, like, oh my God, I can't just sit in the quiet. How do you do that? It's scary in the quiet. I can't. Who said you can't be scared? I was scared as shit in that cave. I was so scared at the outside of the cave, going into the cave, that I was like, nobody would know if I just turned around and got back in the car and went back to Albuquerque. Nobody has to know I did any of this. Like, I could just walk away right now. Be scared. The fear is information. It's information. The fear is like, hey girl, are we about to die? You should look around and make sure that you know where the exits are. Are you safe? Do you have what you need right now? Okay. So what are we afraid of? Right? Talk back to the fear of silence. It's quiet in your home. What? Do you know how many people wish for quiet and sanctuary of home without having to holler at somebody? The times that I have spent in the bathtub with no water in it, just in the bathtub with the shower curtain closed, hiding from people in my house. I'm not proud of that, but it happened. Or, getting home from the grocery store and just sitting in the car, in the garage, let the lights go out, just sitting in the car, in the garage, in the dark, collecting myself before I have to go transition to put on another hat and anticipate another need and provide and do and have another conversation. Listen, life for me ain't been no crystal stair either. And you owe it to yourself to sit with the discomfort of silence so that you can hear what Spirit has to tell you, to reveal to you, to say to you. These are not ghost stories I'm telling. I'm saying that if it is already so noisy in your mind that the idea of sitting still causes you discomfort, perhaps that means that what you actually need to do is sit still so that you can pay attention to what the noises in your mind are trying to say, instead of distracting yourself by turning on the television, playing music, picking up the phone, calling somebody, getting online, being in somebody's business, going on live and telling other people what they need to do with their lives instead of taking care of what is important for yours. I'm just saying, I promised in this podcast to bring you like real deal tangible. When I say ask me how I know, it's like I know that in order for me to trust myself, to hear Spirit, and to move and be in a way that is in alignment with what I believe my divine and highest calling is on this earth. In order for me to do that, I had to surrender to transformation. I had to let go of the things and the identities, the false self and the ego that I had built to survive and to hide from my true self. I had to be with the mess, look at myself and get uncomfortable, just so uncomfortable, so that I could get curious about what is it? Where is the ouch coming from? How can I strategize? What tools do I have to remove the thorn, the pokey thing? How do I get that out? Oh, look at that. Gratitude. I have skills for that. I have tools for that. I have resources. Come on, resource. Come on, gratitude. Come on, abundance. Come on, prosperity. I got so many pairs of sweatpants that I just keep these because I like the way they feel in my hands, with the right pair of biker shorts underneath them so they can't poke me. But it's an option that I got because I got so many options, because I live in abundance, because I have so much to be grateful for. But I just need to get okay with the fact that if this was my last pair of sweatpants, am I going to let it stab me in my crotch the whole time, or am I going to do something about it? On the other side of the discomfort was comfort. Now I have this really comfy pair of knit polyester blend sweater pant situation for cuffing season, cozy time. This my winter arc, right? So there is something on the other side of the thing that you have told yourself is a barrier. It is actually probably a lesson. There's more likelihood that it has come to teach you something that you would otherwise not be able to learn. Teach you something that nobody on the internet is going to sell you for the very low price of these angel numbers, like $555 to, reset your life. And let me give you 6 steps to, make it to a 6-figure business. If that worked, everybody would do it. Everybody would have it. Think of how many courses you have downloaded. And as I minister to you, I'm speaking to myself. How many courses have you downloaded? And ask the instructor, oh, are the slides going to be made available? Are you going to provide a recording so I can watch it after? And then you never watch it. You just out here buying stuff because it sounds good. You just out here creating relationships, talking about, hey, don't believe in coaching because it's a scam. Well, I mean, that's true. Some people be out here scamming, but also sometimes what you didn't realize about coaching is that it requires accountability, and you got to take personal responsibility for your own growth and progress and come up with a strategy and intentions and decide what you want for your life without someone telling you that. When you tell someone, when you have an agenda for someone, for if I had an agenda for you, that is not coaching. That's manipulation and like, multi-level marketing pyramid scheme shenanigans of like each one teach one type bullshit. And like, that's not what this is, right? What I'm saying is, yeah, you can develop the will to change your life. And I'm not saying, oh, you just have to fix your mindset. Oh, you have to just do, you got to develop the will. You have to be willing to be transformed in service of your purpose, your calling, and your highest self. That's all. It took me being dragged through and fighting and resisting for a very long time to even realize that I was going to have to surrender and then surrender again and then jump and then fly and then fall, sometimes plummet, not hit the ground, be like, oh shit, that knocked the rings out of me. All right, here we go. Let's climb up again. Surrender, try, fail, do it again. Okay, what did I learn that time in hell? Okay, so I'm going to take the left at the end of the road instead of taking the right to the hill. Okay, and we're going to do it again. We're going to keep living every time. We're going to do it with fierce grace and deep gratitude every time. It is a process. It is your process. It is life. And I will never not be grateful for the opportunity to live it. So, healing is possible, y'all. Ask me how I know. Because I did it. I'm doing it. And I can only share what I learned through the journey. Magic is real. Magic is to make apparent what has previously been unseen. This portal that I have stepped into in this version of my life at this stage of my being on earth is magic. I didn't see this for myself. I didn't see this life for myself, Lucille Clifton, this life that I have shaped from clay and stardust. Oh, won't you celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed, right? Magic is real. Black girl magic has been commodified and is used against us as like a parlor trick, something that we perform to amuse people, for their benefit and not our own. I see Black girl magic as a healing modality that is rooted in our ancestral ways of being and knowing. That is alchemy. That is the core of at the essence of who we are as descendants of the continent of Africa. So there's that. And love is the answer. All of this solitude, all of this stillness, all of the discomfort, all of the doing versus being and having and, then having and then doing and then being, bringing me back to just being and then having and then doing what is in alignment with that. Like just, getting my life together. All of it comes down to loving myself in all the ways that I didn't love myself before, but learning how to love myself fiercely. Intasaki Shange said, I found God in myself and I loved her fiercely. I found God in myself and I loved her fiercely. So deep. Like love is the answer. And not being ashamed of the fact that there was a time that I was walking around in this world not loving myself because I simply did not know how. So I unlearned those habits, learned some new shit, and then was like, this is what it's all about. Love is the answer. Healing is magic. Healing is possible. Magic is real. Love is the answer. That is my purpose, my offering, my gift to you in the world. Ask me how I know, because I did it, because I lived it, because I walk it. I see it in my coach partners, in the lives of Black women, the relatives that I've known, the people I descend from, my people, in the stories of the Orisha, in the way that the politics in the world work out, the history of civilization. Healing is possible, magic is real, and love is the answer. So, what will you learn in your solitude? I wish you nothing but the best and highest for you. So I'm going to go on ahead and get out of here. That's today's episode. I have to go do some very wildly adult things tomorrow morning, very early, like go to the DMV and possibly sit online for hours and like literally bring a folding chair. And I have like a little manila envelope with all of my paperwork in it, like a proper auntie. And so I have like a book and my Kindle and all the things that I need in a little bag sitting by my front door so that I can like get up and walk on out of here tomorrow and get to my appointment on time like a proper auntie would do. And I'm just so tickled at myself for being this grown and also looking at the clock and being like, okay, girl. So this episode is not getting a lot of edits. We just gonna do it straight, no chaser, because I can do what I want. But I am grateful to you for listening. You can reach me with any questions, comments, or concerns. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. Share it with your homies. Send it to somebody who might need a word from your girl, right? Where we are just talking about life and how we live it. And my soul looks back and wonders how I got over. And when I get the answers, I come back here and share them with y'all. So thank you for listening. You can email me at hello@ebonyisisbooth.com. My website is ebonyisisbooth.com. You can check me out there, learn a little bit more about me and my story, my journey, my work as a cultural strategist, speaker, coach, and event designer. What else? All of this stuff sounds like hella promo-y. That's where I be at. I'm at Coach Ebony Said on social media. I'm primarily on Threads because, me and Instagram, I don't really even know her no more. So we'll see. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Send me an email, like and subscribe to the show, comment on the show on Spotify. I uploaded on Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple. So I'm pretty much everywhere you want to be when it comes to where you get your podcast. So like, comment, subscribe, upvote me, share me to people if you feel like it. And if not, that's cool too. We can keep it cute in the community. I'm on Substack at Ebony Imago, but I should probably write something there. I'm gonna put that on my list of things to do maybe tomorrow while I'm in line at the DMV. I love y'all so much. Be light, keep shining. Good night.